So, do you remember albums? I know that seems like a dumb fucking question, but legitimately, like the concept of an album, listening to something from start to finish, the more and more that we get into the future of music and listening to music on digital platforms and releasing music on digital platforms, the concept of albums is even something that I'm starting to lose grasp of. There's like artists who, they release 4 or 5 singles before an album even comes out, like half the damn record. And by the time the album comes out, like I've totally forgot that the album was even coming out. And if I do hear the album, it's like, well, I've already heard half of this. And damn well the singles, like they're throwing the heat out there. So like you're kind of getting all the B grade stuff that you haven't heard yet. And it just makes for a really weird and kind of a bummer experience, like just like being able to hear all of these songs that you hadn't heard before, that you were looking forward to from an artist, like, all at once, this like half hour, 45-hour long worth of material. Like even if there's like some shit in there that was like, maybe not your most favorite thing, it might be sandwiched in between 2 incredible songs that you've never heard before. And I don't get that anymore. I don't even know the last time I've felt anything like that, because I can't think of an artist that I follow that hasn't released, multiple singles prior to an album release. And that's not anything new, but it's just different now. Like the access to the singles is so much greater than it even was when I was a kid, because it was like, sure, maybe there's a song on the radio, but you got to wait to hear it. And sure, like maybe there is a song on MTV, but you got to wait to see it. This is all pre-YouTube, pre-streaming services, pre-on-demand, anything. And it's a lot different now. And I know this is a very, very long-winded intro, but the reason why I'm bringing this up is because immediately when I re-listened to this album, getting ready to prepare to do this video on this album, the first thing that I thought of was just like, fuck, man, I miss albums. I remember the first time hearing this album, I hadn't heard a goddamn track off of it prior to its release, and I was really looking forward to this album. Whenever it comes to defining the next generation of greats, bands that really cemented themselves as important figures in the musical landscape of rock and heavy metal throughout, the 2000s and the 2010s, it's going to be literally impossible to not put Mastodon anywhere near the top of that list. They are one of the most important rock bands of the past couple decades, unquestionably. And it's really, really cool that they are still a very successful band. I love whenever they're coming through town that there are so many people going to see them, even people that traditionally don't talk a lot about like rock music. They're excited about them. They're just that band. They have that thing that can transcend needing to be like a music nerd to give a shit about it, which is like something that a lot of bands in this style of music are kind of like unfortunate victims of. It's not even like, I don't think bands intentionally try to not get noticed, but for whatever reason, which, is undeniably just killer fucking songwriting, good personalities, and excellent musicianship, they've been able to cut through all the fucking noise and, remain one of the biggest and most powerful bands in rock music of our current day. So that was an incredibly long intro. Should I even do the title card at this point? Fuck it. It's my show. Grab your favorite pair of headphones and let's listen to this. If it's not abundantly clear by now, we're talking about the 2009 release from the one and only Mastodon, Crack the Skye. We're just going to kind of shrink down this conversation and get focused finally, fucking 5 million years later. Crack the Skye is a really, really cool fucking piece of rock and heavy music. It has elements of hard rock, classic rock, psychedelic rock, doom, punk, metal, thrash, all those elements that like Mastodon has always incorporated into their music. But this album, I feel, is just like next level in terms of like painting a cohesive landscape and really telling a continuous narrative from start to finish, which is why at the beginning of this video I was harping so much about the concepts of albums versus like singles or just hearing like short bits of songs here and there, because this thing from start to finish, I feel, is unfuckwithable. And it really is so goddamn diverse and really highlights everything that is great about Mastodon as a whole. I always make it a point that if I'm going to listen to this, that I know I have the time to try to go start to finish. It's like a movie or something to me, you know, like I want to commit the time to engaging with the full experience. And it's very unique in Mastodon's discography in that way, because most of their other releases, while they're fucking awesome albums, they're not as like cinematic as this album. And I don't know or think honestly it was probably even intentional. I think that sometimes if a band is just in a particular zone at a certain place and a certain time, and, you know, they write and record and get these songs done like without too much outside distraction, you end up with something like this where you have just like this really cohesive ball of consistent material that all works and plays and dances so well together. You know, like all of these tracks just sound like they were written intentionally to be together. It doesn't sound like a collection of songs. The sequence of songs sounds like, you know, it is really telling a story, almost like a Tool without like the snobbery or the polyrhythms, you know, like the way that you can listen to later era Tool and it's like a vibe kind of washes over you and kind of get lost into it, like a meditative state. This album also puts me in a similar meditative state. There's just something about the guitar tones and the textures and all of the layers, the different vocalists and the way that all the parts dance with each other that makes it very, very hypnotic and really, really cool. So if you're a fan of just like good, no bullshit rock, metal, killer production, cool songwriting, something that you can listen to, you know, for more than 5 minutes, something to get lost in for a little bit of time, and you've never listened to this album, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. Go check it out. It's a really, really awesome album. And chances are, if you've never listened to this, maybe you haven't listened to much other Mastodon. And I just have to say that you really can't go wrong with pretty much any Mastodon record. So if you like this, well, lucky for you, they have a whole fucking collection of music that you can get lost in. While everything may not be as, you know, cinematic and hypnotizing and like otherworldly as Crack the Skye, they're still all great albums. Mastodon's a great band, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. So until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of the people around you. Peace.